So today, yesterday we kind of seen the first row where all important charts are covered related to bar chart or related to column chart. Now every chart is somewhere interdependent. There is a slight change or the use case of the every chart is there is a slight change. We have seen that use cases, and we have also seen the probability where to use what column. I mean, in which axis, and in legend, what column is the best fit for these mentioned charts. Now, we have started with stacked column chart. The only difference is in case of column chart, it is a standing kind of up to down chart, whereas in case of bar chart, it is from left to right. So almost everything remains same. In case of stack, it is stacked within the same column. The partition concept is used. Whereas in case of clustered, multiple lines or multiple columns comes into picture. Now same goes with the bar chart also. And at the end, we kind of seen an example of the 100% stacked bar chart or 100% stacked column chart, where and how to use these concepts, how to use or where to use this. We will also see few more insights. What exactly is the use case? We have also seen an example that if there is an appraisal going on, so how do we calculate that appraisal? So for any individual level performance, directly we can use that 100% stacked bar chart or 100% stacked column chart. Now, there is a slight confusion for few of the folks that what exactly this individual performance is and what exactly this overall performance is. Now, that insights we're going to see today, and few other charts which plays an important role for any specific report or any specific dashboard, that also we are going to see. Now, coming back to the performance level analysis, now this was just an example. Now, if I take some more examples, how and where to use that the 100% stack bar chart or 100% column chart is, let's take an example of our cricket team itself, our Indian cricket team. See, there are only few people in the world who have most number of hundreds, who have most number of centuries in their name. If I take few names, it starts with Sachin, and we have a Virat who have more number of hundreds, and we have Rohit. Now, individually, see, you will get some statistics while watching cricket also. You will get some statistics displayed there. Now, to compare with Sachin, Sachin has around 51 test hundreds, 51 hundreds in test. Now, this is highest in case of test. In case of Virat, we have 50 hundreds in case of ODIs. So this is the highest as compared to any other player in this world. And we have Rohit around 35 or 36 hundreds. Now is also one of the highest century scorers in case of ODIs or in case of few tests also. Now, if you compare this, usually you get the statistics in both. If you're watching a cricket, you get statistics mentioned in both the formats. In case of India, these three people are highest. Even in case of world statistics, that means the number of teams in the world, how many number of teams in the world, usually we have around 12 to 14 teams, which are full members who plays ODI cricket or test cricket on regular basis. Now, there also the statistics are displayed. Now, how the statistics are displayed? In case of Indian cricket team, these three people will come. In case of world cricket also, apart from these three, there are other few folks whose names are mentioned. Maybe Ricky Ponting from Australia. We have Jack Callis from South Africa. There are many other players who are also in the list. Now, similarly, if I take these three players' name, I'll paste it here. Now, this is for international level. Now, international level means comparison with all the cricket teams. Comparison with all the cricket teams. Somewhere you'll get Ricky Ponting name also. He's around 40, or I'm not sure the exact count, but it's around 35 to 40 hundreds. Now, in that case, how the information is displayed? It is displayed in combination of all together. all 13, 12 to 13 ODI cricket teams, how many teams play this cricket on regular basis, all that information is aggregated. Now, similarly, this is individual team level hundreds or team level performance. The above example which we have seen, this is more specific to individual team level. The Indian cricket team, this is more specific to individual team level. That means a specific team only. If you're comparing, this is with specific team only. Now, this specific team level performance, this specific team level analytics you want, individually you want, you can always go with this chart, the 100% stack bar chart, which we are using, or else 100% stack column chart. Now, this is how the combination look alike. Whereas if you want to compare it with all the organization or maybe all the teams present in the cricket, now that case is this, where all people from multiple countries come together, all the names are clubbed together. In that case, you can always go with the pie chart or donut chart. Now we are going to see few insights related to pie chart and donut chart, but specifically where to use what chart, that is what I was trying to explain. If it is specific to one specific set, one specific level, or one specific organization or one specific team, always go with 100% stacked column chart or stacked bar chart. This is individual level performance. Whereas if you want to go with a complete aggregate, you have to go with pie chart. Now we'll see an insight related to pie chart also. There it will clarify most of your doubts. Why only pie chart for a complete organization level, maybe not for an individual level? For all the organizations clubbed together, why only pie chart will play an important role, that we are going to see. But to give you a basic difference, if at all it is related to specific set only, you should always go with the stacked bar chart or stacked column chart. Now coming back, yesterday I also got a question or a query that why 2016, why 2017, the date time related columns are always considered as a categorical value. Why not it as a numerical value? Because it is somewhere looking like a numerical value. Now let me explain it with an example. See, we are trying to get some information. Now this information is more specific to the revenue generated by a certain organization. Assume that there is an organization which is trying to generate, I mean, which has some business, and the revenue generated by that organization, I'm trying to display it here. So this is starting from 2014, and I'm trying to take all the years. It's 2017, 2018, 2019, and 2020, including 2021. Assume that this is the statistics which we have got. Now this is a purely a date time column. This is purely a date time column. Now I'll only take it as date. The time is not mentioned, but yeah, wherever you find an year, there is a probability that you also get the information in time also, because the information is changing specifically with time as well. Now this is purely the revenue. Now in case of revenue, it's purely a numerical value. It's purely a numerical value. If I take this is, assume this is in millions, the information is in millions, maybe 100 million. In 2015 it went to 150. Now somewhere the information is upgraded, or the information is changing in terms of millions. The revenue is changing in terms of millions. So this is all in millions. Now the question is why these numbers are still aggregated or still calculated as a categorical value. See, in case of numerical value, if you sum up this, if you sum up these values, now how do I sum up? In case of Excel, we usually write a formula and we try to select the number of cells. Now these are the number of cells I am trying to select. This is summation. This is all aggregate 1500 millions. This is all aggregate 1500 millions. This is giving some information. This numerical value, the revenue, if I try to sum up, it is trying to give some information. Okay, even you can sum up this. There is a probability even you can sum up this. Why? Because these are purely numerical values. But if I sum up this, I'm trying to sum up these values. This is what I'm getting. Do you think this value will help us getting some information? The 16140, this specific value is not giving us some information, neither is it useful. summing up individual years is not a common practice, or not, neither it is useful. I mean, it is not trying to answer any specific information, or neither it is trying to gain any specific information. Okay, if you sum up the revenue on an aggregate, 1500 millions have been generated in last 6 years, last 6 or 7 years, starting from 2014 to 2021. Now if you see here 2019, there is a drop. You can estimate that if there is a drop, we could have assumed that there was a COVID in 2020. There was a huge drop from 250 millions to 180 millions, the revenue which was generated by certain organization. Now, if you think that with these revenue values, you cannot aggregate these years. If you sum up these years, there is no use case. That is why these values are considered as a categorical value. Even though they look like a numeric, these are categorized as a categorical value, or a string value, or a varchar value, or a character value. If you compare it with revenue, this is purely a numeric value. If you sum up, if you make a minus, if you change, if you make a difference also, every value will give you certain information. 2020 minus 2019 minus 70 million drop. This is drop. You can gain this information, you can share this information, that within these 2 years there was a huge drop of 70 million. Now you cannot minus 2020 minus 2019. There is no use case of this. Whatever statistics you do here, there is no use case. Now if you do statistics here with the numerical figures, there is a specific use case.
Ritesh,
Hmm?
is it because that when we are doing something in like in the revenue column, is it because we are do I mean, if you're like subtracting or doing something, we are able to interpret something from the result, that is
Yes.
why it has got some value, and in the years column, like, we are not able to interpret anything.
Yeah, that is what I was trying to explain. With the years data, we are not trying to interpret anything. So that is the pure reason we consider these values are categorical values. You can assume these are standard values. You cannot do addition. You cannot do any statistics with this. You simply place it, create a graph like this. That's it. And one more important aspect with these values, see, with these values, we can create a chart. One more chart, which is somewhere interdependent on the date related aspects that we are going to see. We have seen a stack bar chart, stack column chart. Any of these charts, compare any of these charts, you can use date as a categorical value. Now, apart from these above charts, the column chart or bar chart, there is one more chart, or probably the chart which we are going to discuss. It is most widely used in case of date or time related aspects. Now, what is that chart that we are going to see? Um, if I go back to that chart, rather than directly giving you an information, what I'll do, I'll take an example. How many of you are interested watching the ISRO highlights? Maybe if there is any rocket launch, if there is any kind of, we had a Chandrayaan launch also. How many of you seen this? If you rewind back, how many of you seen this Chandrayaan launch? Maybe in your TVs. I'm not saying live. Maybe in your TVs, your mobiles, your TVs, your online devices. How many of you have seen this? So I can see only one of them. Okay, so I'm assuming that around maybe more than 50% of people have seen it. May not be live, but afterwards, after the launch also, there were many videos published, or there were highlights also. If it was around 1 hour program, highlights of 2 or 3 minutes was there. Now I'm not sure how many of you seen in detail. In detail means while a rocket launch, take an example of Chandrayaan. See, there is a monitor kept in front of every scientist who is related to ISRO. There is a monitor kept in front of them. Now, if you compare, if you check that monitor, there is a line going on. There is a line going on. Now, what that line trying to convey, how many kilometers or how many miles that specific yarn or that specific rocket which we have launched has traveled, and in which direction. There is also a direction arrow. There is also in case of maps, you'll always see a direction there. Somewhere it is mentioned as north. This is mentioned as north, and somewhere this is east, this is west, and this is south. Now, this kind of direction is present in map. This kind of direction is present wherever you try to analyze if a device is traveling. Now, this kind of information is kept. And in case of their monitor, you can see this is a monitor. Assume this is a monitor kept in front of an ISRO scientist, and there is a bar going or kind of line going on. How many kilometers that specific launch or the specific rocket is traveling. Now, why only this kind of line related information is mentioned there is, if you compare any time changing information, if the information is changing frequently in seconds, maybe in minutes, or probably in hours also. I'm not saying days, I'm not saying years. There is a probability that in number of days also the information might change. In number of years also information might change. Wherever there is a date and time related aspect, you will always see a kind of line changing information. Now, what do you mean by line changing? One of the example is ISRO. The rocket information, the rocket is traveling at a very fast pace. Within few seconds, the information is changing. Maybe here it was somewhere 100 miles it has traveled, and here it has traveled 1000 miles. Within few minutes, it has traveled 900 miles of distance. Now, if you go back and rewind your COVID days, I am damn sure you'll always remember, most of us will always remember, this was the most commonly used device. As this is an oximeter. This is an oximeter. This was the most commonly used device. In case of oximeter also, if you keep your finger, if you keep your thumb, the oxygen level is a kind of captured here. In case of oxygen level also, it is frequently changing. It is not common. I mean, it is not constant. This is what ideally 97-98% we have seen, but this is changing within few seconds. Somewhere it will reflect 97 also, somewhere it will reflect 96 also. The one who were infected, it was below 90 also. One who were infected with COVID, it was below 90 also. But how this information was calculated in oximeter, the information, it was calculated with the help of line chart. There was some line going on. Now, what do you mean by line? It is trying to calculate the pulse. With the help of pulse, what is your oxygen level? It is trying to calculate. Now, this is one more example. This is specifically related to time. The rocket has changed his distance from 100 miles to 1000 miles within few seconds or few minutes. The same oxygen level is also changing after every second. For every individual, oxygen level is not constant. It is frequently changing. Now, this is one more example. And the other example, if I wanted to take the third example, if you visit any physician, if you visit any specific hospital, there they'll recommend a test related to heart, the ECG test, electrocardiography. Always this information is interpreted in terms of a graph. The graph is somewhere like a line here. Now, what do you mean by this line? This is heartbeat of our human. This is heartbeat of a human. With this heartbeat, a doctor can assume whether your heart is functioning right or is it comparatively different than a normal individual. Now, why heartbeat is calculated in this line statistics is the heartbeat is changing frequently. Every second, the heartbeat changes. Now, these are all examples related to date time related aspects. You can assume that after few days, a graph might change. After few seconds also graph might change. After few years also graph might change. Anything related to date time. Now, these are all examples. If you completely understood this example, come back to Power BI, there is a chart called as line chart. There's a chart called as line chart. Now, what do you mean by this line chart? Let me take a duplicate of this. Now, in case of this, the stacked bar chart or stacked column chart, I'll only utilize the line chart here. I'll remove the region. See, if you want to calculate how many shipments were or in which specific year, what was the sales with the help of date, with the help of year, what was the sales, whether is it an increase, whether is it a decrease. No, you can calculate with this chart also. You can calculate with this chart also. But most preferable chart in case of date time analytics is our line chart. Why? Because information is changing as per date, as per time. Now, this is only year. If I take all the date hierarchy, this is specific to 1 year. Now, if I take to one specific quarter, see, for quarter also, you will get more insights with this line chart. Accepted in case of line chart, there isn't any bar. There is more a white space. Only one line is depicted, but still in case of date time, in case of wherever you'll get the time related statistics, wherever you get the time information, you want to interpret that date time information, always blindly go with line chart. Irrespective of whatever data you have, always blindly go with line chart. Now the thing is, why not use column chart? Why not use bar chart? You can still use bar chart, you can still use a column chart, but recommended is always go with line chart first. If at all the stakeholder is coming back to you that this line chart is not that interactive, or maybe there is more a white space, I want this to be a column chart, I want this to be a bar chart, or this bar chart, you can go with this. Even this is possible. But if at all there is a date related statistics, always go with line chart. And the question I've answered why to use line chart. If you take an example of any of this, even oximeter, the oxygen level is changing frequently. If you take an example of ECG, your heart rate is always changing. The number of heartbeats is always changing. If you take an example of ISRO, ISRO is just an example. You can take any specific example which is related to date, which is related to the distance traveled, the always information is kept in a line, upward, downward line. Now, if you want to utilize the same concept in Power BI, always go with line chart. The best approach is line chart here. Now, this is specific to quarter. If I want to take it to the month, I can take it to the month level hierarchy also. Easy to guess from which month to which month there is an increase or there is a decrease. Even with this chart, it is easy to guess, but we have to individually check each and every bar. With this line chart, it is somewhere directly trying to convey whether there is an increase or whether there is a decrease, direct increase or direct decrease. Now, if I take some other value, in case of date, I'm not taking date here, some other categorical value. I'll take product name. See, even this is feasible. Let me take product names are many subcategory. Even this is feasible. Subcategory by sum of sales. Now, if you see here, this will give you more insight rather going with line chart. Why? Because there is nothing related to date. There is nothing related to date. This will be more kind of readable or more understandable if both values are somewhere related. The value which is in x-axis is more specifically a pure categorical value, not a date value. But if I take date here, I'm trying to take date and I'll take a line chart. With this line chart, you can directly convey that in quarter one there was a very low sales, whereas in case of quarter four there was very high. Now this number is very small, that is why we are able to interpret if the number goes beyond. Now what do you mean by beyond? Let me take two statistics here. See, for 2016 individual quarter, there are 4 quarters a year. If I scroll it, see 2019 only information is there. There ideally a scroller should be available for 2020. I guess 2020 the half of the information is there. If I compress it, to compress it very long, but here it will answer most of our questions that in 2016 which quarter was high. Quarter 4 again, starting with 2017 quarter 1 was low, it again went up in quarter 4. In starting 2018 also quarter 1 was very low, whereas quarter 3 it has improved. Quarter 4 it again went high. Again in 2019 quarter 1 it was quite a low, and end of 2019, that is quarter 4, it was high. Now you can easily analyze with the help of column chart also, it is easy to understand, but somewhere you have to see the complete bar. Whereas if you go with line chart, this is more easy to understand. Why? Because there isn't any bar, there isn't any specific column or bar available here. this is possible, this is possible. Both are correct. If at all a person who is new, who doesn't understand this line chart, who doesn't understand the usefulness of line chart, no usefulness, I've taken few examples. Every example is related to date and time. Now, if you compare it with Power BI, similarly, Power BI is nothing but a reporting service. We want to visualize it. We want to analyze some information. So one thing keep in mind, I'll highlight this. If at all you're going with a line chart or maybe anything related to date time, if at all you're going with anything related to date time, always blindly go with line chart. If a stakeholder is coming back and asking us that there is a more wide space, I don't want or I don't like this interpretation, go with column chart. Go with the column chart or go with bar chart. Whatever statistics you want, go with this. Now, if you see here, it is very difficult. See, in case of bar chart, even column chart, somewhere it is trying to give some information in one single view. But if I go with bar chart, which quarter had the highest, individually you have to check here, scroll it down, check it here. Somewhere it is difficult. Readability is not that great. But if I go with line chart, it is purely readable. Even if I compress, see, even if I'm compressing it, it is purely readable. Now that is the importance of line chart. The only use case of line chart is if at all you come across a date time value, blindly go with that. Date time values, blindly go with line chart. Now, in case of line chart, we have one more advantage. We have x-axis, we have y-axis, and secondary y-axis. Now, what do you mean by secondary y-axis? We also have a legend. We also have a legend. Let me mention that as well. We also have a legend. See, here we have taken order date, categorical value in x-axis. In case of y-axis, I have taken a numerical value, which is sum of sales. Now, what is the use case of secondary y-axis? In case of secondary y-axis, I'll take profit. See, both charts are coming. Ideally, y-axis is towards left. If at all there is a secondary y-axis, it will come towards right. Now, if you go back to our second session where I have explained what is the usefulness of secondary y-axis, what is exactly x and y-axis, there you can recall the x-axis is always towards down, which is going from left to right. This is x-axis going from 2016 to 2019. The ideal y-axis is total sales, which is going from 1 lakh to 3 lakhs. And ideal secondary y-axis is towards right, which is going from 1,000 to 40,000. See, the difference is here it is going from 1 lakh to 3 lakhs. The sales is from 1 lakh to 3 lakhs, whereas profit is from zero. That means from 0 to 40,000 only. It is not in lakhs. It is purely in thousands. Let me go back. Let me check the secondary y-axis. Go to values. I'll make it display unit to none. See, here it will answer. Let me open the focus mode. Both the axes are not working like a similar condition. The blue line, the light blue line. Let me change the colors as well. Now, how do I change the color is click on that visual, go to format your visual. In the lines tab, open this, go to colors. Now I want sum of profit to be a different color. Let me take it a different color. Yellow shade. This is looking good. Let me open it in focus mode. See, sum of sales is in blue. So if you're checking a blue chart, if you're checking a blue line, blue statistics, it is towards left. That is sum of sales, total sales. If you want to compare it with the profit, see here sales is less, profit is high. No, that is not the case. Sales axis is towards left and profit axis is towards right. So both the lines may look overlapping each other, but they are not dependent on each other. They are specifically independent, even though x axis is common, but y axis is different for them. If you want to check both the conditions, both numerical values in the same chart itself, there you can always keep the secondary y-axis option open. This yellow line is purely depicting profit. If you hover on this, see this yellow line is more than blue line. Why? Because this yellow line is comparing with 40,000 only. The maximum limit for secondary y-axis is 40,000. Now, if you want this information to be changed, always open. Go to the secondary y-axis, whatever minimum value you want. It should start from 0 and it should end at 5 lakhs. Now I've entered 5 lakhs. You can see the drastic change. The sales has come down to lowest level. Maximum sales or maximum profit, sorry, the maximum profit is 38,000, which is way less than a normal 1 lakh. I've kept scale from 0 to 5 lakhs. That means 0 to 1, 2 to 3, 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4, 4 to 5. This is how the scale is automatically. Power BI has taken this scale. If you keep it to auto, default it is taking 0 to 40,000. Both conditions are valid. Never compare both conditions, never compare both lines together. This line, blue line, you should always check from left, and the yellow line you should always check from right. Check from right means always focus on the right axis, always focus on the left axis, depending on what you're depicting.
Ritesh,
Go ahead.
in any case, the secondary y-axis is always from the right to left?
No, it is from left to right only, not right to left. But if you are trying to check the secondary y-axis, you should always check towards right. Why? Because the
value,
axis is towards right.
the axis towards right. Okay.
Yep, not from right to left. You should always check only right ways information or right side information is. Why? Because this is depicting this axis. Okay. Now, if you hover on this, this will also give you some insights. Sum of sales is 2,36,000. Profit is 38,000. Now, this secondary y-axis is not available in all the charts. Very few charts are there. Anything related to line. If I take axis area chart also, secondary y-axis is there here. Now, in case of area chart, if you see somewhere area chart is also similar like line chart only. The only changes in case of line chart, there is more a kind of white space. Whereas if I go to area chart, it is trying to cover that complete area. Now, if you think, if you are going this way, see, in case of area chart, this is not the ideal representation. This is not correct. Why? Because sales is somewhere less than profit. In case of line chart, okay, we can assume that we are comparing the axis, but this is covering a complete area. No, this is not right. Always what you have to make sure if you're using an area chart is go to your format visual, use it anything, use your axis which is anything less than the area axis or the sales axis. What I'll do, I'll keep it to 0. I'll start it from 0, or probably what is the minimum profit? It's 3,000. I'll start it from 1,000. I'll end it at 1 lakh. This will answer. See, this is the right approach. If you're using an area chart, sales should be greater and profit should be less. Why? Because it is trying to complete that area. It is trying to cover that area. This is the right approach. If you're going with area chart, almost similar like line chart only, but it will cover a specific area. It will highlight that specific area. Sales should be always greater than the profit. In case of line chart, you can take any way. Either you can take this way, or else if you don't want the secondary y-axis to be always less than the normal y-axis, you can use it as auto. Line chart will not make any difference. Whereas in case of area chart, it will make a difference. Why? Because it is covering, it is highlighting that specific area. These two charts are somewhere dependent or somewhere similar. I'm not saying dependent, both are independent, but both charts work a similar manner. The only changes, area chart will cover a specific highlighted area, whereas line chart will never cover or will never give you that highlighted area. It is purely a line, a single line. Now, usefulness of line chart, usefulness of area chart. Line chart and area chart, both wherever you find date time related aspects, go with this. Date time values, blindly go with area chart or blindly go with line chart. Now, I've given you one idea. In case of area chart, the higher axis or whatever axis you're taking. Maybe if the axis of right, that means the secondary y-axis is higher. If I go back to the area chart, I'll hover on this. See, in case of area chart, I want to show sales here. In secondary y-axis, I want to show sales, and I want to show sum of profit here. See, in this case, let us see. I'll keep it to auto. Auto means I'll not mention anything. It will automatically take the values. Sales is toward right. Towards left, it is profit. Now, I'll mention this. This is profit and this is sales. Let me do the formatting. Now, if you're taking secondary y-axis as higher digit and primary y-axis as lower digit, in this case, the best option is make sure, see, towards right, sales is coming, towards left, profit is coming. Profit should be always less than sales. In case of area chart, okay, in case of line chart, this is fine. No one will ask you why the profit graph is greater than the sales graph. No one will ask you, because they are always focused on whatever axis they are trying to check. Now yellow is towards always left. Now how do you make sure that yellow is towards left? See, you should make sure this yellow, this total profit should be highlighted in yellow color. Now this is yellow color. What I'll do, I'll go to the formatting, I'll open the y-axis. First, I'll open the lines, go to colors. I'll check the yellow color which I'm using. I'll copy this hex format. I'll make sure that yellow color is highlighted towards y-axis also. I'll go to the values. Here, this yellow color will be highlighted. See, this is how it should be. And towards right, we are using a blue approach. That is blue color. Now I'll copy this blue shade, the hex format. I'll go back to the secondary y-axis, go to values, use this value. This is how the ideal line chart should look alike. If something graph is in blue, where it should look? It should look towards right. Your eyes will directly look towards right rather than going towards left. If at all it is yellow, it will always look towards left. You can change the title also, the total profit, the total sales. You can change these title as well towards what color you're using. Total sales is blue, so you can change it to blue. Total profit is yellow, you can change it to yellow. This is how a formatting of a line chart should be always. Now, in case of area chart, this is not the right approach. In case of area chart, because it is trying to highlight that covered area, the sales should be always greater. Now, in this case, go to the format. Secondary y-axis is sales. Now, I'll keep this as default. I'll go to y-axis. I'll start from 1000 and I will do it till 50,000. This is always right, or probably I'll make it 1 lakh. This is always right. The information in case of area chart, whichever graph is depicting lower value, it should be lowered rather than the higher value. You cannot use it like a line chart. Sum of profit is low. It should be always less than sum of sales. Now here you'll have a confusion. Maybe our eyes, maybe the one who are good in understanding, for them this is yellow color, for them the above one is blue color, but both are overlapping. It will take a bluish shade only. Now that is the behavior of line chart. If the information is overlapping on each other, that is how a line chart will work. Oh, sorry, that is how an area chart will work. My bad, I was saying a line chart. That is how an area chart will work. In case of line chart, it is pretty straightforward. Nothing is highlighted. Important things to highlight or important things to notice. In case of area chart, area which is higher, it should always be higher. Area which is higher, the graph should be always up or maybe more than the other graph. Why? Because the other graph is less than the higher graph. And one more important thing, formatting. Colors towards axis plays an important role. Whatever lines, whatever color lines you're trying to show, that color should be always mentioned towards Y and towards secondary Y, including the title. I might have not changed the title, but if I go here, go to title, I'll open this. I'll use in secondary y-axis. It is blue, it seems. Yeah, it is blue. And in case of y-axis, I'll change it to yellow. This is how it should look like. Whatever may be the x-axis color code, but y-axis color code should be matching with the line of graph. Individually for each visual color formatting importance also changes. Area chart, line chart, formatting color towards y-axis and secondary y-axis is important. Now I will highlight, I'll note all these points in Excel and I'll be sharing with you. But for first, you understood what every chart means, how to utilize it. Yeah, go ahead. Someone had a question.
Yes, Ritesh, did you do in this example? Have you added legend value? Anything?
Now we are yet to go to the legend. Now in case of legend, I want to add, maybe I'll add a segment. See, I'm trying to add a segment. I'm trying to add a segment, but I'm unable to add. Let me check the area chart. Even legend, I'm unable to add. The reason why I've not mentioned legend is earlier also, I've started with secondary x-axis, y-axis, and secondary y-axis. At the end, I might have written legend. So in case of line chart, see one thing, if you're using secondary y-axis, you cannot drag and drop any specific legend here. See, I'm dragging, it is not taking. Maybe you think that I'm scrolling it back. No, that is not the case. I'm dragging a quantity here. I'm dragging region here. It is not taking. Now what I'll do, I'll use this. I'll remove this sum of sales. I'll take a region. Here it will work. Maybe I'll take segment. Here it will work. In case of area chart and line chart, important aspect, if you're trying to take a legend, secondary y-axis will not work. Secondary y-axis will not work. That means if you're using a secondary y-axis, legend is of no use. You cannot take legend here. Now, if I drag and drop something, since secondary y-axis, I'm dragging something. Maybe I'll drag profit is there. I'll drag sales. It is not taking. Now, that is the behavior of line chart. That is the behavior of area chart. If you're using secondary y-axis, legend will not play an important role. If you're using a legend, if you're using a legend, that means x-axis, y-axis, and legend, secondary y-axis will have no role in it. You cannot take all four fields together. It is area chart, whether it might be a line chart. You cannot take all four fields together. Now this is very small. What I will do, I'll make it to auto. Here it will answer your query. Why am I taking 0? Now it will answer. See, in this case, if I'm taking a legend, what is this trying to convey? Very difficult for a normal human mind. Also, there are only 3 different legends available, 3 different partitions available. If I click on home office, this is easy to understand. If I click on corporate, easy to understand. If I click on consumer, easy to understand. But if I uncheck all, I mean, everything is checked, very difficult to understand. Maybe what I'll do, I'll go back to the format your visual. I'll go to data label. Even data label is kept on. See, the data label is still kept on. Let me see. Why is it not coming? All I have kept value. Should I? Yeah. Now here, if I kept value also on, very difficult. What is what? I mean, I have to hover on this. I have to specifically go to every quarter and understand. Now here in this case, maybe our line chart is not that use. Maybe it is trying to create a confusion. Let us try an area chart. See here, area chart will be more of use. Why? Because it is trying to cover a complete area. Now here in case of area chart, data labels may not play an important role. I'll keep this data labels off. What I'll do, there is an option called as markers. Both in line chart and area chart, there is an option called as markers in format your visual. I'll keep this on. Marker means it is trying to highlight a specific point. That means a specific quarter. Here it will answer few insights. Area chart is more visible. In case of line chart, it is very difficult to understand what it is trying to convey. Whereas in case of area chart, it is highlighting that specific area. It is covering that specific area. Now it depends on us what chart is visible for what. In case of date time also, we have 2 charts. But where to use line chart, where to use area chart, and where to use legend. In case of secondary y-axis, legend is nowhere important. If you're using a secondary y-axis, you cannot use legend, cannot be used. Whereas in case of legend, if you're using secondary y-axis, cannot be used. Now that is the behavior of both the charts. X-axis and y-axis should be always there, but either of them will work, either secondary y-axis or either legend. Now any question on the area chart, any question on the line chart? Now, if I keep the markers on, we have a flexibility. There are multiple options in markers also. See, I can increase the size of that marker. Maybe this is not that great. I'll make it something small. Okay, this is good. Now, if you want to change the color, see, you can change the color for each quarter as well. You have a flexibility to change for each quarter. That means marker for each quarter. Now, you want to change it to square, you can take a square. You want to change it to diamond, take a diamond. X, you can take it X. You want a line, you can take it line. Whatever conditions we have, you can take a plus option also. We have multiple options for markers. Markers means a point which is peaking. I mean, at this point, the information is peaked. No, this is not that great. Maybe these circles are more easy to understand. I'll keep it to 5 pixel. Let us try what do you mean by the colors option. See, for quarter one, it is yellow. Now what I'll do, maybe I'll make it more interactive. Let me change the colors first. Rather than markers, I'll go to lines. I'll go to color. Home office, maybe I'll take a different shades. Okay, orange will work. Corporate, I'll take a different shade. Maybe I'll take an yellow shade. Now it is trying to get more easily understandable. I will close this color option, go close this lines option. See, if at all it's quarter one, it would be highlighted in dark blue. If at all it is quarter two, it would be highlighted in dark brown. If at all it is quarter three, it would be highlighted. Let me take any random color. Brown is there. I'll take purple color shade. And if at all it is quarter four, I'll take some other shade. Maybe I'll go here. I'll take a greenish shade. Now I'll follow the same approach. For quarter one, it is dark blue. For quarter two, it is dark brown. Quarter three, it is somewhere pinkish shade. For quarter four, it is somewhere green shade. I'll follow the same approach for all others. This, this, this. Same for 2019. Now it is very easier to understand. This graph, this area graph will make a sense that now, how do you claim that this blue means first quarter? How do you claim that? In case of legend, only segment is highlighted. Blue means consumer. This yellow dot means corporate. This orange dot, I mean orange color, I'm not saying a dot. If this is orange, that means it's an home office. But how do you claim that blue means quarter one, brown means quarter two, the pinkish shade means quarter three, and green means quarter four? How do you claim that? Now there is a flexibility in Power BI. The chart is more interactive, easy to understand also, and very intuitive for our human eyes. But there is still a confusion. What are these colors? What are these trying to, I mean, what colors? There are multiple colors with pointers. With these markers, what are they trying to convey? Now, how do you claim? If I come back in the normal Power BI mode, the Power BI view mode, Power View mode, in the home tab, you have an option called as text box. You have an option called as text box. Either you can go to the text box option, or else if you navigate to the insert tab, in the insert tab, you'll get an elements division here, the elements option or element division here. In the elements, there are multiple options present. There is an option called as shape. You can insert any specific shape. Normal, it's just like a PowerPoint presentation. Power BI is a combination of multiple Microsoft tools, Excel, PowerPoint, maybe your Word, everything is clubbed, whichever is required for a data analyst point of perspective, that all aspects are covered here. Maybe you'll not get multiple shapes here. The amount of shapes you get in Power BI, the PowerPoint presentation are very more. The number of shapes available there are more in numbers. Maybe for Power BI, these will play an important role. Only these number of visuals are, only these number of shapes are available. Either you can insert a shape, either you can insert a text box. Now what I'll do, I've inserted a text box. So this is a text box. This is not a visual. Now, how do you differentiate a text box and visual is, if I click on visual, see in the visual tab, something is highlighted. That means this visual is a area chart. But if I click on text box, visual pane is automatically gone. There you can differentiate this is a text box. Now here you have a flexibility to write. What I'll do, I'll write something. QTR1, it's very small. QTR1, I'll insert QTR2. QTR3, QTR4. I'll make it big. It's just like a normal text box in a Word or the PowerPoint. I'll make it big. Maybe I'll use bold here. Quarter 1 marker. What am I doing is I want to highlight what that specific dot or what that specific pointer is trying to convey. I'm trying to mention that information. Now this is done. I will paste, make it minimize. I'll get this. I'll paste it somewhere here, maybe at the top where it is not trying to take your representation. I'll paste it here somewhere here towards after the, for text box also you have an option. Now you can add a visual border. Yes, visual border is added. If you want a shadow, go to effect, you can off on the shadow. It is normal like a visual only. Now here the dark dot, that means blue dot, is trying to convey us the first quarter pointer. I'll go to the marker. I'll go to colors. I'll get this hex format value. I will highlight this. See, once I highlighted, you'll get an option format color, that blue color. Quarter 1 marker is in this shade. Maybe I'll make it bold again. Now Quarter 2 is in brown shade. I'll go back to the visual, go to the lines option, markers option. I'll copy that color format, the hex format which I want. This is the format. I'll go back here. I will take this, highlight it, make it bold, go to the formatting, blue or the brown color which I've highlighted. See, this is how a visual or this is how a report is prepared. Color combination, formatting of color. Now, if you have already prepared a visual and again coming back to change the color format, it is completely rework. That is why I have always said the first and foremost thing is, once you set up your page, the height and width, color is important. While working on the visual itself, work on the formatting of visual. Color, size, wording, everything should be done at that specific instance. You need not come back and make all the changes again. If you're working on a visual, make sure the visual is crystal clear with all the formatting. Now Quarter 2 is in pinkish shade. I'll click on the visual. I'll get that pink shade, go to markers. I'll get that pink shade hex format. I will highlight the Quarter 3 here, bold with this shade. And at the last, it is green color. I'll get that green color format. I will highlight the Quarter 4, bold, and get this color, this format. See, now this visual is trying to give you all the information. What every marker is trying to convey, what area it is trying to convey. Blue is consumer, yellow is corporate, orange is home office, and what color pointer or what color marker it is trying to convey, that is also highlighted in the text box. Importance of formatting, importance of color coding. You have to use your schooling or drawing concepts also. Data analyst means not only analyzing data, not only randomly creating charts, work on formatting. Now today we have seen insights related to the exact understanding of 100% stack column chart or 100% stack bar chart. And we have seen an important concept related to line chart and area chart. Where have I mentioned it? Line chart and area chart. Now, in case of line and area chart, I've given you an idea why secondary y-axis is important and why legend is important. Either of them will work, not both together. Any questions on the concepts which I have covered today? Any question? Why only line chart to be used in case of date time? I've started with an example. I've given 3 different examples. Now you can think what all examples are there where a line chart is used. There are many such examples. Any questions? I'm open for questions. For today, I'll close 15 minutes earlier. Why? Because maybe I'm expecting more number of questions. Why? Because today is the last free session for Power BI. From tomorrow, we would be starting a paid session. We would be continuing with other charts. We have covered the first 6 and the second, the only 2 in the second line. So see, the pace yesterday was faster. Why? Because every chart was something related. There was only light or slight change. Now today we have only covered these 2 charts. Even these 2 charts are somewhere similar. Usefulness is slightly different. Even these 2 charts are somewhere similar, but we have only covered 2 charts in complete 1 hour, 1 hour or 1 hour 15 minutes. Now for few charts, I will almost take a 1 complete session. There are few charts in Power BI which plays an important role. For that charts, I'll be taking complete 1 day also. We will continue the usefulness of charts for almost 10 to 12 lectures. Where to use what kind of chart. And yesterday, as promised, as I've showed you, I'll go back. Let me open that. See, as promised, I would be creating a same explanation for every chart, what every information, what chart is best fit, what or where is that chart used for. I'll make this information. For today, we have, noting it in Notepad, but I will make it documented and I'll be sharing it on the weekly basis. This is all documented. So I'm taking a pause. I'll take a pause of 1 minute. If you have any questions, free to ask. Else we'll wind up for today. From tomorrow, as informed, it would be a paid class. You can reach out to our team, or else our team will anyhow reach out to you. Yep. Thank you, everyone. Have a very good day. Hoping to see you all in tomorrow's session. Yep. Thank you.